Loretta Swit, one of the stars of the hit CBS series, died today here in New York.
Captain, I know this may sound like a frivolous question, but what the hell are you doing?
Colonel Potter, sir, my last wish is to be buried in my mother's wedding gown.
I've seen these Dodgers for 40 years, all the tricks. Dismissed.
Loretta Swit won 2 Emmys for her portrayal of Major Margaret Houlihan, head nurse in a mobile Army surgical hospital during the Korean War.
MASH was more than just a TV show. It was like a friend who came into your living room every week, making you laugh one minute and cry the next. It ran from 1972 to 1983 for 11 amazing seasons, and it told stories about doctors and nurses working in a war hospital during the Korean War. The show mixed funny moments with really sad ones, and that's what made it so special. It wasn't just about war, it was about people, their friendships, their struggles, and how they kept going even when things got tough. The actors were like a family on screen, but behind the cameras, things weren't always so perfect. Loretta Swit, who played the tough but kind nurse Margaret Houlihan, knew the truth. For years, she kept quiet about what really happened, not wanting to hurt anyone or stir up trouble. But before she passed away, in 2025, she decided it was time to tell the world what went on. Let's start with the show itself. MASH began on September 17, 1972, and it was based on a movie from 1970, which came from a book written in 1968. The book told the story of 3 doctors trying to save lives during the Korean War. The show took that idea and made it bigger, mixing in humor and heart to show what war was really like. You had characters like Hawkeye Pierce, played by Alan Alda, who was funny and smart, but also cared deeply about his patients. Then there was Trapper John, played by Wayne Rogers, who was Hawkeye's best friend and just as clever. Loretta Swit played Margaret, a nurse who started out strict but became someone you could really relate to. There was also Frank Burns, played by Larry Linville, who was kind of mean and stuck up, and Colonel Reese Blake, played by McLean Stevenson, who was like a friendly boss. Radar, the young clerk played by Gary Berghoff, stole everyone's hearts, and Klinger, played by Jamie Farr, made people laugh by wearing dresses to try to get sent home. So Father Mulcahy, played by William Christopher, was the kind priest who helped everyone stay strong. As the show went on, some actors left and new ones joined. Trapper left, and B.J. Honeycutt, played by Mike Farrell, came in. Colonel Blake was replaced by Colonel Potter, played by Harry Morgan. Frank Burns left too, and Charles Winchester, played by David Ogden Stiers, joined the cast. Each new actor brought something fresh, but the show always felt like home to its fans. What made MASH so real was that many of its stories came from actual doctors who worked in the Korean War. Alan Alda didn't just act, he wrote and directed episodes, making the show feel personal and true. When the final episode, called Goodbye, Farewell, and Amen, aired in 1983, it was watched by more people than any other TV episode ever. It wasn't just a show ending, it felt like saying goodbye to friends. But behind the scenes, things weren't always as warm as they seemed on TV. Loretta Swit said there were tensions, arguments, and moments when people felt left out or ignored. Some actors felt like they weren't treated fairly, and others were frustrated because they wanted more from their roles. These problems built up over time, and they led to some big decisions. Wayne Rogers, who played Trapper John, left after 3 seasons. He felt like the show was focusing too much on Hawkeye and not enough on the whole team. He wanted MASH to be about everyone working together, but he felt pushed to the side. Even though he stayed friends with Alan Alda, he decided to leave to find roles where he could shine. McLean Stevenson, who played Colonel Blake, left for a similar reason. He wanted to be a bigger star, but he later realized fans loved his character, not just him. When his character died in the show, it shocked everyone and made fans cry. It was one of the saddest moments in TV history. Larry Linville, who played Frank Burns, left after 5 seasons. He said his character wasn't growing anymore, and he didn't want to keep playing the same role over and over. But Loretta Swit hinted there was more to it. She said some actors didn't get along, and there were moments when working together was really hard. Gary Berghoff, who played Radar, left in season 7 because he was tired of playing a young character when he was getting older. He also wanted to spend more time with his family. Some people said he could be tough to work with, and there were arguments on set, but in the end, he left to find peace and focus on what mattered most to him. Loretta Swit stayed for all 11 seasons, one of only a few actors who did. She loved playing Margaret and worked hard to make her character more than just a strict nurse. At first, Margaret was called Hot Lips and was mostly there for laughs, But Loretta pushed the writers to show her as a real person, someone strong, smart, and dealing with the pain of war. She even talked to real nurses to make her role feel true. Her hard work paid off. She won 2 Emmy Awards, and fans loved how Margaret grew into someone they could admire. But Loretta said it wasn't always easy. She saw the fights and felt the pressure. She stayed quiet for years because she didn't want to hurt her friends or the show's legacy. But before she passed, she wanted to be honest. She said the cast was like a family, but even families have problems. There were times when people felt ignored or like their work didn't matter as much as others. Alan Alda became the star of the show, and while Loretta supported him, not everyone felt the same. The team spirit they started with faded, and some actors felt like they didn't belong anymore. Loretta's own life was just as full of ups and downs. She was born on November 4th, 1937, in Passaic, New Jersey, to a Polish-ish American family. Her parents, Lester and Nellie, raised her and her older brother Robert. Her dad worked as a salesman and upholsterer, and Loretta was a lively kid. She was a cheerleader, acted in school plays, and even co-captained her basketball team. After high school, she went to a business school and worked as a secretary, including at the United Nations. But her heart was in performing. She secretly trained as a dancer and studied acting in New York. By 1961, she was acting in big plays with famous actors like Don Rickles. She moved to Hollywood in 1969 and got small roles on shows like Gunsmoke before landing MASH. That role changed her life. On the show, Margaret started as a tough nurse who didn't get along with many people. She had a secret romance with Frank Burns, which was funny but not always healthy. Over time, Loretta helped make Margaret kinder and more human. She became friends with Hawkeye and others, and fans loved seeing her grow. Off-screen, Loretta was close with Alan Alda and Harry Morgan, who played Colonel Potter. She and Morgan even became neighbors after the show ended, but not everyone got along. Loretta later shared that she had a hard time working with Larry Linville, who played Frank Burns. In posts on Instagram before she died, she hinted at a rift with someone on set. She didn't name him, but people who worked on MASH knew she meant Linville. She said she had to work with people she didn't respect, and sometimes scenes had to be redone because someone wasn't focused. This tension made her job harder, but she stayed professional and kept going. Loretta's personal life had its own challenges. In 1983, she married Dennis Houlihan, an actor who appeared in MASH's final season. Everyone thought they'd be happy forever, but they divorced in 1986. Loretta was heartbroken. She didn't talk about it much, but friends said she carried that pain for a long time. She never married again, and though she had other relationships, they didn't last. She kept her love life private, often smiling or changing the subject when asked about it. Despite her fame, Loretta sometimes felt lonely. She wanted someone to love her for who she really was, not just the star on TV, but she found joy in other ways, through her love for animals. Loretta loved animals with all her heart. She became a vegetarian in 1981 and later a vegan, and she worked with groups like the Humane Society to help pets find homes. She spoke out against animal cruelty and took in rescue animals herself. During MASH, she'd bring dogs to the set to keep her calm. She even started the Sweetheart Animal Alliance to rescue pets and raise awareness. Her work wasn't just for show, she truly cared. She went to shelters, helped organize events, and adopted animals who needed love. Fans admired her for using her fame to help those who couldn't speak for themselves. As Loretta got older, she stayed out of the spotlight. She had heart surgery and wanted a quiet life. She painted, did needlepoint, and took care of her pets. In 2017, she wrote a book about her watercolor paintings and her work with animals. She also posted on Instagram, and in May 2025, her posts got more emotional. One showed a dog by a window with the caption, "I don't regret anything, I just think I may have been quiet about some things for too long." She was writing a book called Hot Lips and Heartstrings, where she planned to share more about MASH in her life. It wasn't finished when she passed, but it's said to include honest stories about the show and the pain she felt. Loretta Swit passed away on May 30th, 2025, from natural causes. Her death was peaceful, just as she wanted. Fans, friends, Indies and actors mourned her, remembering her as a strong woman who stood up for what she believed in. Alan Alda wrote a touching post saying she always knew what to say and never shied away from the truth. She changed TV by making Margaret a real strong woman, not just a joke. Her work with animals showed her kind heart, and her honesty about MASH gave fans a new way to see the show they loved. In an old interview, Loretta and Larry Linville talked about MASH and their time together. They laughed about their characters' romance and joked about the show. Larry said playing a silly character like Frank Burns was just as real as playing a serious one. Loretta praised the cast, saying they were like a family who worked hard together. They talked about McLean Stevenson, who played Colonel Blake, and how funny and talented he was. The interview showed their respect for each other, even if things weren't always easy. It was a reminder of how special the MASH cast was. They weren't just actors, they were a team that created something amazing. Loretta's legacy is more than just awards or fame. She won 2 Emmys and a People's Choice Award, but what really mattered was how she used her voice. She made Margaret a character fans could look up to, and she fought for animals who needed help. Her friendship with Alan Alda lasted a lifetime, and even though they never confirmed a romance, their bond was special. After MASH, Loretta lived quietly, painting and helping animals. She didn't need fame. She had purpose. Her story teaches us that success isn't just about being famous. It's about doing what you love, standing up for what's right, and leaving the world a little better than you found it. What do you think about Loretta Swit's story? Did you know about the struggles behind MASH? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If you loved learning about this, hit that like button, share this video with your friends, and subscribe to our channel for more stories about your favorite stars. Click the next video on your screen to keep watching. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you soon.